It was just after midnight when the silence surrounding John Kennedy's mansion was broken by the crunch of footsteps on gravel. The estate, perched on the edge of a quiet Louisiana town, had always seemed untouchable, an old home filled with history, pride, and the kind of presence that made you think twice before stepping too close. But on this night, three masked figures moved with purpose, convinced they were about to pull off the perfect crime. They thought they knew what awaited them inside: wealth, power, and treasures that could be turned into quick cash. What they didn't know was that they were walking into a lesson that would change them forever. The thieves had planned this for weeks. They knew John Kennedy wasn't an ordinary man, but to them, he was just another symbol of privilege, a man living in a mansion while they scraped by. The leader of the group, Marcus, was bitter. He had spent his life struggling, working odd jobs, always feeling like the world was rigged against him. To him, Kennedy's estate wasn't just a house, it was a reminder of everything he didn't have. His younger brother, Dylan, followed hesitantly, his conscience tugging at him, but loyalty to his brother kept him in line. The third, a woman named Carla, was hardened by years of hardship. She told herself they weren't stealing from a person, they were stealing from a system that had already robbed them. They slipped through a side door, hearts pounding, adrenaline pushing them forward. Inside, the mansion was dark, but not silent. The ticking of an old grandfather clock filled the halls, its rhythm steady and haunting. Every creak of the floorboards seemed louder than it should have been. Marcus whispered sharply, telling the others to focus. They moved toward the main study, where they believed Kennedy kept valuable artifacts and documents. The thought of easy money kept their courage alive. But then something unexpected happened. A light flickered on upstairs, and the sound of slow, deliberate footsteps descended the staircase. The thieves froze, their breath caught in their throats. John Kennedy himself appeared, not in anger, not even in fear, but with a calm expression that unnerved them more than anything. He didn't shout or call for help. Instead, he looked directly at them, his eyes steady, and said in a voice that cut through the tension, "Do you really think this is the way to change your life?" The words hit harder than any alarm or gun could have. Marcus gripped his crowbar tighter, his pride demanding he stand firm, but something about Kennedy's presence made him hesitate. Dylan looked down at the floor, ashamed, while Carla shifted uneasily, her confidence faltering. Kennedy didn't move toward them, he didn't need to. His voice carried weight, a mixture of disappointment and understanding. "You see this house," he said, gesturing around. "It's not just walls and furniture. Every inch of it carries the story of sacrifices, of nights I didn't sleep, of times I failed and had to get back up. You think you're here to take something valuable? What you're really taking is a piece of your own soul." The silence that followed was unbearable. For the first time, Marcus felt small, not because of wealth or power, but because Kennedy spoke with truth, and truth was something Marcus had avoided for years. Dylan's hands trembled as he finally whispered, "We didn't want to hurt anyone, we just didn't know what else to do." Kennedy studied them, then sighed deeply. Instead of calling the police, he made a choice that would define the moment forever. "You want a way out of the life you're living? Then stop trying to steal it. Earn it. I'll give you work tomorrow, honest work, if you've got the courage to show up." The thieves were stunned. Mercy was the last thing they expected. Kennedy could have ruined them with a single phone call, but instead, The next morning, against all odds, two of them showed up at Kennedy's estate. Dylan came first, nervous but determined. Carla followed, wary yet curious. Marcus stayed behind, still shackled by his pride. Kennedy greeted them not as criminals, but as people willing to change. He handed them work, hard work that demanded sweat, patience, and resilience. And in that work, they began to discover something they had lost long ago: dignity. Weeks passed, and though the journey wasn't easy, Dylan and Carla transformed. They learned discipline, responsibility, and the satisfaction of building something with their own hands. Marcus eventually returned, broken by the weight of his choices, and Kennedy gave him the same chance he had given the others. Slowly, the bitterness faded, replaced by a sense of belonging they had never known. By the end of their journey, the mansion that once seemed like a symbol of what they could never have became a place of redemption. And Kennedy's lesson remained clear: true wealth isn't in possessions, but in the strength to rise above your past and build a future worth living. The thieves had entered that night thinking they would take something from John Kennedy, but instead, they left with something far more valuable: a chance at redemption. And for the rest of their lives, they would remember the night Mercy changed them forever.